Ethan Drake had been stationed on the edge of human exploration for almost a year, and he had grown used to the strange hum of alien life that surrounded the outpost. The planet, officially designated as Xiron 7, was beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. Towering crystalline trees glimmered in the dim sunlight, and flowers with translucent petals swayed in the breeze, releasing a faint, luminescent glow. It was silent most of the time, except for the occasional growl of predators or the whistling winds that cut across the jagged rocks. Ethan liked it. There was something about being alone on the frontier that made a man feel alive. He was checking the perimeter sensors when he noticed movement near the edge of the forest. At first, he thought it was one of the automated drones returning to the base, but this was different. It was fluid, deliberate, and human-sized. He squinted, shielding his eyes against the bright reflection off the crystal shards. The figure emerged slowly, barefoot, stepping carefully on the uneven ground. Her robe shimmered faintly, clinging to her as she walked, but it was not an ordinary robe. It was made of a strange material that seemed to change color with every step, blending with the environment. The way she carried herself made it clear she was not afraid of the alien terrain. Ethan instinctively reached for the plasma rifle slung across his back, but he did not raise it immediately. There was something about her presence that demanded attention. She was tall, elegant, and moved with a confidence that made him pause. Her bare feet touched the glowing soil lightly, as if she had a connection with the world around her, and then she spoke. "You're mine tonight," she said. Her voice was clear, firm, and carried an authority that startled Ethan. He froze, unsure how to respond. He was trained for encounters with hostile life forms, spies, and alien mercenaries, but nothing in his experience prepared him for this. "Wait," he said slowly, trying to assess the situation. What are you?" The woman smiled faintly, as if amused by his confusion. "I am Leora. I come seeking your help." Her tone made it clear that she expected obedience, not hesitation. Ethan lowered his rifle slightly, but kept his hand near it. There was no weapon visible on her, and her demeanor did not scream threat, but he remained cautious. Ethan took a step forward. "You expect me to trust you because—" "Why exactly?" Leora's eyes were calm but piercing. "Because your kind is uniquely capable of survival where others fail. Tonight you will understand why. I cannot fight them alone." He frowned, uncertainty battling curiosity. "Them?" he asked. "They are hunters. They have already destroyed worlds like mine. My people are scattered, hunted, and weak against their technology. Humans are different. You are resilient, creative, and dangerous in ways they do not expect. You will help me protect my people." Ethan's military instincts kicked in. He had heard of alien threats before, but he had never encountered one directly. This could be a trap. He scanned the area with the sensor pack on his wrist. Nothing moved in the trees. No drones, no ships, no visible enemies. Yet the hairs on his neck stood up. "You come barefoot saying you're mine, and now you ask me to fight with you?" Ethan asked, still trying to understand her intent. Leora stepped closer. Her robe shifted slightly, revealing the contours of her body, but there was no aggression in her stance. Instead, there was a quiet urgency, a sense that time was running out. "You misunderstand me," she said softly. "I do not claim you for myself. That phrase is an ancient expression in my language. It means trust and reliance. Tonight, you are responsible for me and my people. That is all." Ethan's shoulders relaxed slightly. The weight of his responsibility on Xiron 7 was heavy, but this was different. He realized she was not trying to seduce him or manipulate him for personal gain. She was giving him a mission, one that could define the reputation of humanity across the stars. "I don't even know if I can help," he admitted, though his tone was firmer now. "We're just a small outpost here. Limited resources, limited weapons, and I don't even know the size of your threat." Leora's eyes softened. "You have what others do not: imagination, adaptability. Humans survive where machines fail. That is why I came to you. I saw your outpost from orbit and recognized the potential. If you refuse, my people may not survive the night. If you agree, we might just have a chance." The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of alien blooms. Ethan glanced at the horizon, where the sky was darkening. He could see the first signs of approaching storm clouds, though they seemed unnatural, shimmering in colors he had never seen before. The planet had ways of reminding him that he was not home. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help. But we do this my way." Leora nodded once, a gesture of respect and agreement. "You will lead. I will follow." and together we will survive." They moved toward the dense forest. Ethan was cautious, his military training guiding every step. Leora matched him stride for stride, moving as if she belonged in the alien environment. She explained the urgency of the situation while they walked. Her people had been scattered across different planets, hunted relentlessly. A new predator species had emerged, capable of bypassing most security systems, rendering traditional defenses useless. Leora had escaped to Xiron 7 in hopes of finding humanity's help. Ethan listened carefully, noting the sharpness in her mind and the clarity of her strategy. She was not just asking for help. She was providing critical intelligence, expecting him to act on it quickly. That was rare. Most species he had encountered in the galaxy either demanded obedience or offered empty promises. Leora offered both respect and urgency, and it demanded his full attention. The forest became darker and more alien as they moved deeper. Strange insects with glowing wings hovered around crystalline branches, and the ground beneath their feet emitted soft pulses with every step. Ethan relied on the sensors on his suit, scanning for movement. Nothing yet. Suddenly a low growl echoed through the trees. Ethan froze. Leora's hand brushed against his arm, a gesture of reassurance. "They are near," she said quietly. The predator emerged from the shadows. It was a four-legged creature covered in black scales, with eyes that glowed red in the dim light. Its movements were fast, precise, and silent. Ethan felt the familiar surge of adrenaline that came with danger. He raised his rifle, aiming carefully. Leora stepped forward, raising her hands. A small device on her wrist emitted a sharp pulse of sound that disoriented the creature. It hesitated, then retreated into the forest. Ethan exhaled sharply. "What was that?" he asked. "That is one of their hunters," Leora explained. "It is fast, strong, and nearly impossible to track. You humans have weapons and tactics they cannot predict. That is why I needed you." As they continued, Ethan realized the truth of her words. His training, combined with human ingenuity, could make a difference where advanced technology alone might fail. He started to plan. Using the natural environment, the alien terrain, and his tactical knowledge, he could create traps and ambushes to protect her people. Hours passed as they navigated through the forest. The sky above darkened further, casting long shadows. Strange sounds echoed in the distance, and Ethan could feel the tension building. Leora remained calm, her eyes scanning constantly for threats. He admired her composure and strategic thinking. She was not helpless. She was a partner, and they would need to work together to survive. Finally, they reached a clearing where the remains of an old alien outpost lay hidden beneath thick foliage. Leora explained that this site could serve as a temporary safe house. Ethan began setting up perimeter defenses, using energy nets, sensor alarms, and makeshift traps from the surrounding terrain. Leora assisted, her knowledge of alien technology proving invaluable. As night fell, the real danger began. Shadows moved in the distance, and Ethan could see faint outlines of more hunters approaching. He tightened his grip on his rifle, feeling the familiar rush of responsibility. Leora stood beside him, her calm presence steadying him. "You understand what this night means?" she asked quietly. "I do," Ethan replied. "It's about survival, not just for you, but for your people, and I intend to make sure we all make it through." She nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "Good. That is why I chose to come to humans. You are unpredictable, strong, and clever. You will do what machines and soldiers cannot. And tonight, you are mine. In every sense that matters." Ethan allowed himself a small smile. He finally understood. It was not a claim of possession in the way he had first feared. It was trust, reliance, and partnership. They would face the night together, relying on each other's strengths. As the first hunter approached the clearing, Ethan and Leora prepared themselves. The night had begun, and with it a trial that would test human ingenuity, courage, and determination against forces that seemed insurmountable. And for the first time since arriving on Xiron 7, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility in a way that was both terrifying and exhilarating. He glanced at Leora, barefoot on the alien soil, her robe shifting with every movement, her eyes filled with unwavering determination. And in that moment he knew that humanity's role in the galaxy was just beginning. The shadows moved closer, and Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. The night was far from over, and the true test had only just begun. The night pressed in like a living thing, shadows twisting and stretching across the clearing. Ethan crouched behind a crystalline rock formation, rifle ready, his eyes scanning the dark jungle for any sign of movement. Leora was beside him, calm and silent, her gaze fixed on the far tree line. Despite the danger, she moved with the confidence of someone who had faced far worse than any human could imagine. Ethan realized she was not just a diplomat. She was a survivor. A faint rustling reached their ears, followed by the low growl of the hunters. Ethan held his breath. The creatures were fast, their senses sharp, and their patience endless. He had seen human predators before, but these beings were something else entirely. Their bodies were sleek, muscular, and perfectly adapted to the alien world. They could scale the crystalline trees as easily as walking across solid ground, and their eyes glowed like red coals in the dark. "Stay low," Ethan whispered. "They can see movement better than sound." Leora nodded without a word. She adjusted a small device on her wrist, sending out a pulse of frequency that interfered with the hunter's sensory perception. A few moments of quiet followed, and then the creatures hesitated, confused by the sudden disruption. Ethan seized the moment to fire a series of carefully aimed shots, not to kill, but to drive them back and create space for maneuvering. The hunters recoiled, startled by the combination of human tactics and Leora's technology. Ethan realized something crucial. No alien species had ever faced humans in this way. We were unpredictable. That unpredictability was a weapon, and tonight it might save their lives. He turned to Leora. "We need a plan to get out of here. Staying in this clearing will only make us a target." She nodded again. "There is a hidden transport a few kilometers east. It can carry my people to safety, but the path is dangerous. You must lead us through." Ethan considered the terrain, noting the natural cover, the glowing flora, and the uneven ground. He began to draw a mental map of the safest path. He instructed Leora to follow him closely, avoiding areas where the hunter's sensors might detect movement. They moved silently, stepping over glowing roots and weaving through crystalline trees. Every movement mattered. Every sound could betray them. Hours passed like this, tension building with each step. At one point, a hunter leaped from a high tree, landing mere meters away. Ethan fired instinctively, striking the ground near its feet. The creature hissed and retreated, disappearing into the shadows. Leora's pulse device had disrupted it just enough to give them a chance to continue. "You humans are remarkable," Leora said softly as they moved. "Your courage is matched only by your cleverness. You think quickly, adapt, and survive where others would fail. That is why I came to you." Ethan allowed himself a brief smile. "I guess humans have a way of making a difference even in places we shouldn't." They approached a narrow ravine, the only route that led toward the transport. The ground was slick with alien moss, and the crystalline edges glimmered dangerously in the dim light. Ethan tested each step before moving, ensuring it could support both of their weights. Leora followed, moving gracefully, as if the treacherous path was second nature to her. Suddenly, the hunters appeared again, encircling them with silent precision. Ethan's mind raced. Retreat was not an option. The ravine was too narrow. He scanned the environment, looking for anything that could give them an advantage. Then he noticed a cluster of tall crystal spikes hanging precariously above the hunter's path. A calculated risk formed in his mind. "Leora, stay behind me," he whispered. He aimed carefully and fired a controlled blast at the base of the spikes. With a deafening crash, the crystals fell, cutting off the hunter's advance and creating a temporary barrier. Ethan grabbed Leora's hand, pulling her through the narrow gap before the creatures could recover. Once on the other side, they didn't stop. The hidden transport was still kilometers away, and they had no time to rest. Ethan relied on his human instincts, improvising traps and distractions from the environment. He knocked down a few glowing vines that released bright spores, temporarily blinding the hunters. Leora followed every instruction, amazed at the creativity and adaptability of her human companion. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the hidden transport. It was sleek and alien, designed for speed and stealth with enough room to carry her people to safety. Leora quickly activated the controls and a soft hum filled the air. The transport's shields flickered to life, blending with the environment and masking their presence. As they settled into the cabin, Ethan allowed himself a moment to breathe. Leora looked at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. "You've done what no one else could," she said quietly. "Tonight, humans have changed the fate of my people." Ethan shrugged modestly. "We just used what we know." You're the one who brought the information, the intelligence. I just did what humans do best." Leora smiled, a faint warmth in her expression. "No, you did more than that. You trusted your instincts, adapted quickly, and led us through danger. You are more than a human soldier. You are a protector, a guide, and a hero." Ethan felt a strange sense of pride mixed with exhaustion. He had faced danger before, but never like this, not on a world so alien, with lives depending entirely on his decisions. And yet he also felt something else, respect for the alien woman who had come barefoot, who trusted him enough to call him hers for the night in the truest sense, as a guardian, as someone responsible for survival. The transport lifted off, moving silently through the alien skies. The hunters below could only watch as their prey escaped, foiled by human ingenuity and courage. Ethan watched the terrain shrink beneath them, the glowing flora and jagged crystal formations blending into shadows. He realized the significance of what had just occurred. Humanity had made its mark not through overwhelming firepower or advanced technology, but through courage, creativity, and the unpredictability that made them formidable. Leora's people awaited them on a distant moon, and as they approached, Ethan prepared to land. The journey was not over, but the immediate danger had passed. His mind replayed the events of the night, the hunters, the traps, the clever improvisations, and the mutual reliance that had kept them alive. He understood now why humans were so valuable in the galaxy. When the transport landed, a group of Leora's people emerged from the shadows. They were weary, scared, and yet filled with hope. Leora greeted them with relief, introducing Ethan as the human who had saved them. They looked at him with awe and gratitude, a silent acknowledgement that humans were capable of extraordinary things. One of the elders stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your people are remarkable. You have saved us when no one else could. Humanity will be remembered." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of their words. He did not seek praise, but the recognition mattered. Not for himself, but for what it represented. Humanity's potential in the galaxy. Leora turned to him, her expression soft but serious. "You have proven that humans are more than soldiers. You are heroes, leaders, and saviors. Tonight you were mine, yes, but not in the way you first feared. You were mine in trust, mine in responsibility, and mine in the courage that guided us through darkness." Ethan smiled faintly, finally understanding the full meaning of her words. "I guess being yours for a night isn't so bad." Then, Leora laughed softly, the sound light and musical, easing the tension that had gripped them both. As dawn broke over the alien horizon, Ethan watched the first rays of sunlight illuminate the crystal trees and glowing flora. The night had tested him in ways he had never imagined, and he had emerged not only alive but stronger, wiser, and more aware of humanity's place in the galaxy. Leora and her people began to prepare for the journey to their new home. But before she left, she turned to Ethan one last time. "Your people will be remembered, Ethan Drake. You have shown that humanity is unpredictable, clever, and courageous. You are not just survivors, you are champions." Ethan nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and alien threats, and humans had prevailed. The galaxy might be vast and dangerous, but he now knew humanity could survive, adapt, and thrive where others might fail. As the transport disappeared into the sky, Ethan remained behind, barefoot on the alien soil, looking out at the glowing jungle. The night had been long and the challenges had been many, but he understood now what made humans special. They were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced, but they were fearless, clever, and willing to face the unknown with courage. For the first time, Ethan felt a connection to something larger than himself. Humanity was not just a small outpost on a remote planet, it was a force in the galaxy, capable of shaping destinies, saving lives, and leaving its mark in ways no one had imagined. The wind rustled through the crystalline trees, carrying the faint glow of the alien world. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the night's trials still lingering in his mind, but also the sense of triumph and hope. He smiled faintly to himself. Tonight humans had proven their worth. Tonight he had proven humanity's strength. And as the sun rose, casting long shadows across the alien soil, he knew that the story of humans in the galaxy had only just begun.